It is the 4th day of July 2023. A very good evening to you from wherever you're watching us. So much has happened in the country and our reporters have been up and about to gather all that for you. That is our custom. As is our custom, let's first of all take a look at our top stories tonight. Government to offer financial support to aid in burial preparations of Londiani accident victims as leaders join the bereaved families for prayers in Londiani. President Ruto urges newly sworn-in principal secretaries to ensure that public funds are utilized properly. TIFA says 69% of Kenyans do not support housing levy as 54% remain skeptical on delivery of their houses. And in sports, Kenya's Mary Njoroge among referees selected to officiate Women World Cup in Australia. Alright, Evans ODIHAMBO is our sign language interpreter tonight. My name is ODIDA and we're live on our social media platforms. That is on Facebook and YouTube at KUTV_Kenya. We begin. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua today joined other leaders at a memorial service for the Londiani crash victims in Kericho, where at least 52 people died, with several others sustaining serious injuries. The DP has asked the Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen to work towards improving road safety, while at the same time supporting the newly introduced regulations, including the use of technology as part of the interventions aimed towards curbing road accidents.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua today joined other leaders during a memorial service held in honor of the Londiani crash victims in Kericho. The prayer service was presided over by church leaders from various denominations at the Londiani Trading Center. During the memorial service, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua urged Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen to take comprehensive measures to improve road safety as he expressed deep concerns over the high number of deaths occurring on the roads each year. Rigathi also voiced his support for the introduction of new transport regulations and urged MPs to support the bill.
I know some of the measures will be a little bit painful. I want to urge the people of Kenya to accept that for us to have meaningful change, there are few people here and there who will be affected, but for the better good for the people of Kenya.
Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen, while mourning the loss, emphasized the importance of ensuring all markets are moved away from the roads, while assuring traders that the ministry will ensure they are given alternative marketplaces.
We have decided as a ministry that we will issue new regulations and we will need support of Parliament. And when the regulations get to Parliament soon, Your Excellency, we want all commercial and PSV vehicles and school transport vehicles must, the word is must, be fitted with dashboard cameras and vehicle telematics.
According to Murkomen, the ministry will introduce new regulations through the National Assembly that aim to bring significant improvements through the utilization of technology. The regulations will include the mandatory installation of dashboard cameras and vehicle telematics in all vehicles.
Vehicle telematics, Your Excellency, will have GPS system showing where a vehicle will be at any particular time. It will have a black box recorder that will be transmitting the speed of every vehicle at any given time. It will show the location of that vehicle. It will show when and who maintained the vehicle, and it will show where the vehicle was serviced and who serviced the vehicle.
At least 52 people were reported dead, with scores injured in the Friday evening accident that involved a truck and several passenger vehicles. Yvonne Kimuma, KU TV.
All right, President William Ruto presided over the swearing-in ceremony of 2 new principal secretaries at a State House today morning. Salome Wairimu will now head the State Department for Correctional Services, while Anne Njoki now takes over the Permanent Secretary for Performance Management and Delivery Service. Ruto has urged the newly sworn-in PSs to ensure that public funds are utilized properly.
2 new permanent secretaries have begun their reign today after taking their oath of office before President Ruto at State House, Nairobi. The first to be sworn in was Salome Wairimu, who will serve in the State Department for Correctional Services within the Ministry of Interior and National Administration.
I, Salome Wairimu Mohia Biako, being called on to exercise the functions of Principal Secretary, do swear that, except with the authority of the President, I will not directly or indirectly reveal the nature or contents of any business, proceedings, or document of the Cabinet committed to my secrecy, except as may be required for the discharge of my duties as such Principal Secretary. So help me God.
Anne Njoki was then sworn in to head the Performance Management and Delivery of Services docket.
I, Anne Njoki Warobe, being called on to exercise the functions of Principal Secretary, do swear that, except with the authority of the President, I will not directly or indirectly reveal the nature or contents of any business, proceedings, or document of the Cabinet committed to my secrecy, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such Principal Secretary. So help me.
President William Ruto urged the 2 to work towards achieving government agenda and provide best services to Kenyans.
Specifically, at the State Department of Correctional Services, we have an elaborate transformation agenda to make correctional services a place where citizens can be given the opportunity to repair their lives. And we are going to work with you to make sure that the State Department serves the people of Kenya.
President Ruto lamented over the fact that Kenya uses 45% instead of the recommended 35% of its income to pay wages and salaries. He has tasked PS Anne Njoki to correct this.
That at the moment, we are spending about 46% of our revenues on salaries and wages. The law and best practice demands that we spend 35%. So we are 11% above what is recommended as best practice and what is stipulated in the laws of the Republic of Kenya.
At the same time, PS Njoki will have to worry about how to ensure fairness and balance between the highest and the least paid public servants.
The State Department, that we harmonize the pay and salaries of all public servants, and we progressively move towards ensuring that there is fairness and there is balance between those paid the least and those paid the most. It's already a live conversation in the Republic of Kenya.
Salome Wairimu and Anne Njoki were nominated by President William Ruto and approved by the Parliament. Also in attendance at the swearing-in ceremony were Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, Head of Public Service Felix Koskei, a National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah. Jacob Okello, KUTV.
Now, the government will collaborate with local communities in terror-prone areas to help identify Al-Shabaab and other extremists for elimination. This is according to Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, who spoke during his tour to Wajir County and Mandera, where he met security and intelligence committees as well as religious leaders before visiting security camps to motivate officers. CS Kindiki says that the government will provide security for contractors working on Garissa-Wajir Mandera Road and Lamu-Mandera Road. The government will also spend 20 billion Kenya shillings to purchase new security equipment. Moving on, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, led by its party leader Raila Odinga, has confirmed that the planned mass action on Friday will continue. Odinga says that the public consultative meeting at Kamukunji will mark the start of nationwide collection of signatures to pile pressure on the government to ease the burden placed on Kenyans. Edward Nyamu with this report.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga, flanked by other coalition leaders, has confirmed that planned Kamukunji rally set for July 7th will go on as planned. The Azimio coalition says that the meeting will be used to launch a signature collection drive to be conducted across the country in an effort to force the Kenya Kwanza government to bring down the cost of living.
We are here because the taxation situation in the country and its accompanying injustices can no longer be tolerated. Ruto has even removed subsidies on fuel, unga, electricity, and even school fees, while giving subsidies to helicopter owners and using our money to finance lavish lifestyles of his allies. It has become clear that we are dealing with a dictator who also has no respect for wananchi.
Additionally, Raila maintained Azimio position to withdraw from the bipartisan talks, saying that the engagement was up to no good. He, however, stated that the task for searching for the next IEBC commissioners must be balanced.
So Kenya Kwanza cannot solely, alone, single-handedly appoint the referee in the elections. That is very unfair. Those will be their own elections. They are not going to be Kenyan national elections. If you say that Azimio must be part and parcel of appointing the electoral commissioners.
Raila, while confirming the official date of commencement of signatures collection, noted it would be a protest against the government, its policies and punitive taxes. Raila announced that instead of demonstrations being held only in Nairobi, as earlier announced, the protest will be held in select towns across the country.
We are here to announce that our Kamukunji meeting is on in Nairobi this Friday, as we had announced. But it is not just a Kamukunji in Nairobi, but a Kamukunji across the country, where this third liberation will be launched. On that day, 7th July 2023, that is coming Friday, among other activities, we will launch a signature collection to signify our rejection of a Kenya Kwanza illegitimate regime and its policies, especially the punitive taxes.
The former Prime Minister explained that the rallies would also be used to demonstrate against matatu fare hikes expected to be implemented starting Wednesday, July 5th. Edward Nyamu, KUTV.
Kenya Kwanza bipartisan talks wing has affirmed that the ongoing discussions are still on track despite Azimio's boycott. The faction led by Joint Committee co-chair George Murugara have expressed their commitment to talks during a media briefing at Bomas of Kenya today, citing lack of formal withdrawal from the Azimio coalition.
The Kenya Kwanza bipartisan talks team today held a meeting at Bomas of Kenya to address the planned resumption of bipartisan talks. According to co-chair George Muragara, the Azimio side, which boycotted today's meeting, has not officially communicated their decision to discontinue the talks. The Kenya Kwanza group highlighted the absence of a formal withdrawal letter or the invocation of relevant clauses in the agreement, offering to wait only for a reasonable amount of time. The Muragara-led side insists that the framework agreement outlining the process for either team to withdraw from the negotiations must apply. In light of the situation, the Kenya Kwanza team urged the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC selection team to continue with the contested recruitment process. They stressed that the Commission has significant responsibility at stake, including the crucial boundaries review. The Azimio coalition, led by opposition leader Raila Odinga during a public rally at Nairobi's Kamukunji ground last week, declared withdrawal from the talks after President Ruto assented to Finance Act 2023, which they vehemently opposed. The fate of the ongoing negotiations and their potential implications now remains uncertain. Both sides hold divergent position, and the absence of formal withdrawal from Azimio leaves room for further dialogue. Patrick Odur, KUTV.
A section of UDA leaders have urged the High Court to lift the staying orders on the implementation of the Finance Act 2023. Led by the National Assembly Chief Whip Sylvanus Osoro, the UDA leaders have stated that they have faith in the Kenyan courts and expect them to make a ruling that will benefit Kenyans. The leaders have also lashed out at the opposition of a planned July 7 protest, arguing that it will hurt the economy.
While attending a UDA party membership recruitment drive at Mosocho in Kisii County, a section of UDA leaders have urged the courts to allow the implementation of the Finance Act 2023. The leaders have insisted that the Finance Act was passed in accordance with the Constitution, while calling on the courts to make a ruling that favors the country.
Maneno ya finance bill na ile kitu ambayo inaenda kotini, court is going to listen to us in the interparty hearing na inaenda ku lift the stay orders ili issue. Na hiyo ninawaambia kwa sababu ninajua hatukuvunja sheria yote wakati tulikuwa tunapitisha finance bill kule bungeni. Kwa hivyo tunataka kuambia mahakama mfanye kazi kwa haraka, mmalize maneno ya finance bill, tupitishe ili wananchi waweze kupata yale maendeleo walimuuliza Mheshimiwa William Ruto.
The UDA leaders have also called out the opposition for their planned protest on July 7th, accusing Azimio la Umoja of being inconsiderate to the welfare of Kenyans in the tough economic times.
Mwezi wa 3 March, yeye alienda akafanya maandamano akaweka sufuria kwa kichwa. Sisi tulienda shambani tukapanda mahindi na saa hizi ndio tunaenda kuvuna hiyo mahindi. Kwa hivyo kazi tunataka sasa ni kuenda kuvuna nini? Kusema tarehe 7 mwezi wa 7 wataenda kwa street waandamane juu ya maisha. Lakini mimi nataka kuambia mzee Raila namna hii. You cannot do the same thing the same way year in year out and expect different results.
La kwanza mjue hajawahi kuzungumzia shida ya bei ya bidhaa hii ambayo huwa wanaweka masufuria kichwani. Kwenye ile kamati tukikaa huwa wazungumzii hilo.
The judiciary has also been urged to work with the other arms of government to ensure a smooth running of the country. The UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala appealed to the leaders to create a healthy political environment in the country.
Mupatie rais wetu nguvu so that kama tuna kitu inaitwa political tranquility in this country, then rais wetu ataconcentrate kufanya maendeleo.
The Finance Bill 2023 was assented into law by the President on June 25th, but its implementation was suspended temporarily by the High Court pending the hearing and determination of a suit filed by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata on Wednesday 5th July. Ruth Wanjiru for KU TV.
And Insights for Africa TIFA has released the findings of its first post-2022 election opinion research. With regards to the housing levy, 69% of Kenyans are objected to the plan, while 54% believe that they will never get a house unit despite paying the 1.5% tax. The report also highlights views of Kenyans on other aspects of the 2023 budget hike in price of basic commodities and what they like in President Ruto's first budget.
The Trends and Insights for Africa TIFA has shared a survey conducted between the 23rd and 30th of June 2023 by means of computer-assisted telephone interviews. The survey focuses on several aspects of the budget 2023 and concentrates on the state of the economy as experienced and perceived by Kenyans. According to the findings, Kenyans view 4% education support, 4% housing levy, and the 3% subsidized farm inputs as the best provisions of Kenya Kwanza's maiden budget. The worst provisions include the 24% increase VAT on fuel from 8% to 16%, 10% increase in tax on basic food commodities, and the 10% housing levy. In matters of housing support and expectations of house ownership, 69% of Kenyans do not support the housing levy, while 24% support it and 7% have no opinion on it. 54% of those paying the housing tax do not expect to get a house. Use of clean energy for cooking has risen from 13% to 34%, while wood remains the most commonly used fuel for cooking at 45%, while the use of charcoal is at 16%. The survey also shows that only 3% of Kenyans earn an income above 50,000 a month. Those earning between 5,000 and 10,000 were 12% of the respondents, while 13% earn between 10,000 and 20,000. Regarding the employment status of respondents, nearly 1/3 of Kenyans who are now jobless have never been employed, with others who are now jobless have worked in the past. 29% are self-employed, while 14% are casual laborers or in part-time self-employment. Jackie Nasiran, KUTV.
All right, we are taking our very first short break at this point. It is 22 minutes past the top of the hour. We are coming back with an interview on the state of the nation, so stay with us.
We are all seeing the impacts of climate change. In Kenya, for example, the frequency of the floods is becoming more and worse. The amount of people and livestock we are losing.
The level we need to go is a level where the normal mwananchi and also the government stakeholders can uptake these solutions.
Those small acts multiplied by millions of us will help make a difference in the world at the end of the day.
It's just a slight behavior change that we need, and you find that it serves us a bit more than you put in. And that's the goal. We want to live a better world than we found. Because at the rate we are going, it's dire.
We will secure the planet for future generations.
Welcome to Children's Corner. Welcome to
Children's Corner.
Children's
Corner.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Tech Innovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
Kenyatta University will hold its 53rd graduation ceremony on Friday, 21st July 2023 at the main campus along Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony from 8 a.m. The graduation ceremony will also be streamed live on KUTV, KU website, Lola app, and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-3092 or 0786-335-111 or visit the KU website on www.ku.ac.ke. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Tech Innovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
What are some of the ways through which you can develop these skills so that you are comfortably fitting into the job?
You have to put yourself in positions where you are uncomfortable in the sense that you are not clear about what to do.
Because I used to work a corporate job before. So when I left, I happened to visit someone's farm around this area.
So this project is called Security Breach Detector and Readiness Familiarize. It is meant to be used to detect, detonate explosives.
We'll tackle all the tough issues, discuss all the weird moments, and hopefully share a few laughs along the way.
Mtazamaji popote ulipo, unapokuwa ukitazama Safina Show
inang'oananga sasa hivi. Ungana nami Albanas Mwania, nahodha wa Safina Show, nikutoe ng'ambo ya pili hadi ufuoni. Safina Show, sauti ya matumaini.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audio-visual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. You're watching KETV Primetime News. Of course, Evans ODIHIAMBO and I are back, and of course, we are back with a guest. We want to speak to Tele Nzomo, that is the Programs Officer at Siasa Place. We just want to talk about the state of the nation, everything that is taking center stage at the country at the moment. So Tele, karibu sana at KETV.
Thanks for having me.
We were having a side chat and I mentioned you have a very wonderful name, and our director at the other side mentioned that. So we rarely start off like this, but for the sake of someone watching us right now and is hearing about Siasa Place for the very first time, what is all about Siasa Place?
So Siasa Place is a youth-led organization that was formed in 2015 that began when people noticed that there was really a lack of youth participation in governance processes. And so there was a feeling between some young people that we needed to create a platform for young people and by young people to try and include them in governance processes, to try and include them in youth participation, in policy making, and just to get them interested so that they can understand what is the importance of politics and how it affects them in their lives.
Have you achieved that so far?
I can't say we've completely achieved it. It's obviously work in progress. We're only 8 years old. We're trying our best right now. We are working in 12 counties and still growing. So there are challenges here and there, obviously, with the young people, trying to get them in politics and trying to get them in governance processes. But we're seeing how we can do that, especially through social media and also through physical activities. Yeah.
Now, what do you, Siasa Place, now make of High Court's ruling yesterday declaring the 50 CAS appointed by President William Ruto as unconstitutional?
I think first and foremost, we can say that we're happy that we have a vibrant court, and a court that can actually rule against incumbent presidents. We've seen it, obviously, going back into the previous regime. So it's good that the judiciary seems to be keeping its independence, at least thus far. There's also been the question of the legality of the matter, right? And a lot of questions around the issues of public participation, issues of the legal framework that actually brings into this position of the CAS. So I'm happy that at least the judiciary has attempted to address those issues. There could be obviously an appeal, which we will look forward to and see just what the Court of Appeals says, if or when it happens. So I think for now we can say that we are pleasantly, we're happy with the ruling as it is.
This appeal that you are mentioning about, you're talking about, why do you think there is need for an appeal now to have the president now bring back, the courts agree to bring back these 50 CAS posts?
I suspect, this is just now me trying to analyze the situation, I suspect that we will see the president trying to go to the Court of Appeal. Obviously, this is a matter that has a lot of political interest. The people who were appointed, majority of them are politicians, people who vied and lost, or former politicians in that case. So that level of political interest, I think the president might try and go to the appeal, or just try and seek another way of redress. Yeah.
Yesterday, while the judges were making that ruling, lawyer Elias Mutuma described the judgment as a win-loss situation, and they were arguing that the president can restart the process and just follow due process, something that you as Siasa Place also agree with. I was trying to follow up on your platform, and I understand that you mentioned something about this. It's a win-loss situation, right? Now, during the creation of this office, don't you think that the president knew about the procedures he needed to take before the 50 CAS were appointed?
We've seen in the past presidents making decisions, and this goes to Uhuru Kenyatta's regime, decisions that have gone to the court and have been nullified. So it's very difficult to sit back and just say that the president knew. Maybe he thought that there's an argument they could make in court to try and rule in favor of this. There are those people, of course, who have read some sort of malice on the side of the president, that he was just trying to string along some of these politicians, and he knew that it wasn't going to go far. It's very difficult to tell his intentions. You know, we can only speculate. You know, but as I said, yes, it might be a win-loss. They could actually look at the judgment and actually consider this is actually how we can go about putting these positions of the CAS, probably in a legal manner. On a personal level, I wouldn't be too keen on that because of just the current financial situation we're in. As you guys were just mentioning in the news, the president himself has just mentioned that the wage bill is currently too high, right? I think he said 11% of best practice.
Right.
So I'm not too keen on this idea of just adding to recurrent expenditure. But yeah, the president might try and I think he has some options which he will try and look at moving forward.
Right. Now, while other Kenyans see this move by the High Court as a win for them, especially now that the cost of living is on its peak, we understand that other Kenya Kwanza leaders see this ruling as unfair, right? So do you think that this is anyway a win for Kenyans?
Yeah, I think it's a win for Kenyans. As I said, first and foremost, to have a judiciary that can actually rule against a government in Africa. You know, in some parts of Africa, it's still not a common practice. We are going to talk about, I think we're going to talk about Sabasaba at some point. But you remember one of the issues that was there, if you go back to the Kanu regime, was that during that period, people did not believe or people did not think that you could go to the judiciary. So the independence of the judiciary, number one, is a very, very big win. And as I said, I think I think this idea of the president just adding, you know, a large number of people to government without really a very good reason. You know, there wasn't really a good reason for these posts as to why, even if you're justified in wanting to bring a CS, why you'd want to have 50 of them. I think, you know, these are questions that I think he didn't quite answer. So yeah, I would agree it's a win for Kenyans.
Right. I don't know, what's your take on the housing levy and the Finance Act in general, that the finance law that was just assented into law? What do you make of the 1.5% housing levy before I come now to my main question?
I don't think that we've quite understood why the housing levy was there. And remember, it's something that has changed a lot. You know, it started as a fund, now it's a levy. We've had all manner of explanations for it. Number one, it was we want to give people houses. We want now to give people jobs. It's not something that was clearly defined. You know, I don't think I have read somewhere a policy statement from government saying that this is actually what we want to do with housing, right? If it is a fund, this is how we are actually going to implement it. We've had double speak from the president, from the principal secretary. There hasn't been anything concrete for me to understand that this is why we need it. So, you know, I'm not too keen on it. And you know, yeah, I'm not too keen on the idea of the housing levy per se. Yeah.
All right. Now, a report by TIFA has just said that 54% of Kenyans are skeptical about receiving houses despite being compelled to pay this 1.5% of that housing levy. And some Kenyans also feel, this is according to TIFA, some Kenyans also feel that the purpose of President William Ruto's budget is to allow for corruption. What do you make of that report?
Again, it's not a report I've looked into deeply. I've just seen what has been reported on the news. But I think that the findings there have some merit to it. Yeah, it is true that Kenyans are skeptical of the idea of getting a house. Actually, majority of the people, because this is being taxed, it's employed people who are being taxed. And I know that people are really skeptical as to how that will actually help them. On the issue of financing corruption, that is obviously something that is a problem in this country. We have already seen scandals, right, from the healthcare to issues of oil. We've seen scandals in this country in this current regime, and we haven't yet reached a full year of the regime. So yes, there's a feeling that we haven't sealed the loopholes, right, that should have been sealed before we say that we actually want to increase. We want to increase revenue. You've had his economic advisor, the chairman of the Economic Council, speak about government wastage and speak about the fact, in some cases actually say we did not promise that we were going to fight corruption. So I think Kenyans are I think it's okay for Kenyans, or it's right that Kenyans are actually skeptical and are thinking that this will lead to corruption cases, or that it will finance corruption.
Right now, what are you doing as Siasa Place now to ensure that you are amplifying the voices of Kenyans? These are most importantly those that are now losing hope in this current regime. What do you recommend should be done as Siasa Place?
Well, what we're trying to do, number one, is to try and first of all understand what exactly are the people saying. I think one of the issues that as civil society we've had is that sometimes we can be disconnected from the people themselves. So we're trying to have a voice with the people in the community. We had a series, for example, on social media called Mfuko Mfukoni, where we actually went to different areas in Nairobi. We went to Kibra, we went to Mukuru, and we were trying to document stories which we posted online of people talking about just how the current state of the economy is affecting them. And that's the current state of the economy even before the finance bill. So we're really just trying to have these voices heard, because at the end of the day, it's not having us as staff of Siasa Place being heard, but actually trying to give a platform to the people in this country, and especially the young people in this country, to be heard.
Now, with the planned Azimio La Umoja country rally that will be on Friday, at this point in time, do you really think that the conversation is about the cost of living? Now that we have seen that the previous rallies that they have done have not really borne any fruit at the moment. So what do you think? Do you think there's something different this time around?
Yeah, I think the finance bill is a very different thing that has come out. I think if you go back to where Azimio started with the issues of Maandamano, initially they were so focused on electoral justice, or what they perceived was electoral injustice in the latter election. And I think majority of the Kenyans were not necessarily, did not necessarily feel that was an issue. I think people just wanted to move on from the election. But the finance bill and the cost of living is something now that is actually hurting Kenyans. We've already seen, fuel prices, fuel prices have already increased. Yeah, you use an Uber right now, and you just speak to the Uber driver. You can already feel the frustration already starting to set in. The state of the economy right now, I think, is going to be something very different, and it's going to, I think, make more Kenyans want to be more involved in at least trying to speak up against the government, even if they're not speaking, even if they're not using the platforms that Azimio has provided, that maybe they want to, organize themselves as young people, organize themselves as communities. I think we're going to now see more and more people speaking against the government, especially on this issue.
But when they say things like they would want to remove President William Ruto from the government, which is something that is, I would say, impossible at this time, but that leaves us with the question, is this really about the people of Kenya, or is it something that is of personal interest to them?
I would say, and this is my personal opinion, that a lot of times when we deal with politicians, whether you're dealing with Azimio, whether dealing with Kenya Kwanza, that a lot of what they do tends to be guided by personal interest. Some people have said that when it comes to politicians only care about national interest if that interest is aligned with their own personal interest. So I do think they have seen an opportunity here where they can actually attack the government on some of these issues. It's also important to remember that if you look at some of the promises that Azimio had made, Azimio also had, during the campaign, Azimio also had a very ambitious plan. That ambitious plan had to be financed somehow. And, it's very hard to think that they themselves would not have tried to, raise the cost of living in this country. Maybe not to the extent, or maybe not in the same way that Kenya Kwanza has done. So yes, there's a level of hypocrisy on the level of Azimio to that extent. And also just to add that, the finance bill comes in to finance the budget, right? Yes, we had a lot of opposition on the finance bill, but we didn't really hear opposition on the budget. For somebody to say, why are we spending so much, right? We didn't hear that, especially from the opposition, in trying to say this is our proposal in as far as expenditure, first and foremost, that we can reduce expenditure or we can change expenditure to this extent, and then from there, we then can talk about the finance bill. So yeah, there's a level of hypocrisy, in my opinion, that it's just politicians trying to look at weaknesses and trying to exploit them.
Do you think that should they have been given room, they would have done things different right now, in accordance with in regards to this Finance Act?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it would have been very different. I'm looking at it from the extent, again, from the expenditure, again, from the all the promises that they were making. You know, they wanted to give 6,000 shillings to every single Kenyan. You know, that money had to come from somewhere. So they had very ambitious plans. And one of the questions I always ask myself, or one of maybe the mistake that we made, and that's we as civil society, you as media, Kenyans in general, we didn't necessarily put these politicians to task, right? We didn't actually ask them, these are the promises that you're making us. How are you going to fund them? And that, by the way, goes back to 2013, you know, when the then candidate Uhuru Kenyatta was promising a lot of infrastructure. Yeah, he promised, you know, whether it was the standard gauge railway, all the roads, he did promise a lot of infrastructure. And we didn't really put him to task as to how we were going to finance. And when he started to borrow, you know, we found ourselves in a tricky situation. So I think it's also a moment for us as Kenyans, and us as and those of us in institutions that hold politicians to account, to look at how better we or what we can do moving forward in as far as ensuring if there are elections, what can we do to ensure that we have the full plan from these politicians?
Do you think we are moving towards really just being independent and making sure that our leaders moving forward are creating an environment where each and every Kenyan is satisfied with how they're delivering their promises that they're making, rather?
It's still difficult for me to judge that. I think that we have a few challenges. One being obviously ethnicity. You know, we still do like to at the end of the day during elections to come back and saying we are voting for our person, we are voting for the people in this community. It will be interesting to see how that changes, especially as generations change. Are we able to move away from that? It will also be interesting to see how people react, especially those people in the Kenya Kwanza strongholds, because the finance bill at the end of the day will affect everybody. The high cost of living will affect everybody. It will be interesting to see how people respond to that. You know, especially to the larger politicians. I think, in as far as the members of parliament, I think those ones will be held to account. You know, we always have a high turnover in parliament, so we might see a number of them not coming back, you know, in the next election.
My director is telling me about time, but before I let you go, I would want to know your opinion about these signatures that the Azimio coalition is talking about. They want to bring the public together to sign signatures in order to propel the government to bring down the cost of living. But do you think that these signatures will be effective at the moment, now that we're talking about the cost of living?
I don't expect the signatures right now to be effective in as far as reducing the cost of living. I genuinely believe that the one thing that will make this government listen is not an initiative actually led by politicians. I think if Kenyans can actually organize themselves independent of Azimio, independent of Kenya Kwanza, and they speak up against this government, and it is a nationwide organization in the sense that it isn't just a few regions, but all regions. I think that is when this government will actually start listening, when an initiative that is people-led and people-driven.
All right, thank you so much. That is Telen Zomo, the programs officer at Siasa Place. And of course, as he has said, if you're hearing about Siasa Place for the first time, it is an organization that amplifies the voices of the youth politically, right?
Governance and governance issues, general governance issues.
Thank you so much for your time, Zomo.
Thank you.
All right, let's continue with our coverage. And now the Public Service Commission has shortlisted 6 candidates for the position of the chairperson of the Central Bank of Kenya. The list, made up of majorly politicians, includes Andrew Musangi, who is the late Chris Kirubi's son-in-law. The commission has called on members of the public to submit any information of interest relating to the candidates by July 10th. Candidates will be interviewed on July 12th.
The Public Service Commission has unveiled the shortlisted candidates for the position of Central Bank of Kenya chairperson. One candidate will succeed Mohamed Nyaoga, who has completed his second 4-year term. The shortlisted candidates from 31 applications include late billionaire Chris Kirubi's son-in-law Andrew Musangi, currently serving as the chairman of the Public Procurement Oversight Authority Board; Abdikadir Omar, former member of parliament for Balambala in East Africa Legislative Assembly; Thomas Mwadegu, former member of parliament for Undanyi constituency; John Konchela, former principal secretary for East African Affairs; James Lopoetum, former Water Principal Secretary, James Gituro, a macroeconomist and former CBK employee. The six will face the interview panel on Wednesday, July 12, between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Consequently, the Commission has invited members of the public to avail any credible information of interest relating to any of the shortlisted candidates to the Secretary or CEO of the Public Service Commission. According to the Kenyan Constitution, the successful candidate will serve a 4-year term and will convene and chair the meetings of the CBK board, oversee the working of the country's top bank, among other roles. Lynette Maina, KUTV.
All right, we are taking another short break at this point. Of course, we're coming back with sports, so stay with us.
Kenyatta University will hold its 53rd graduation ceremony on Friday, 21st July 2023 at the main campus along Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony from 8 a.m. The graduation ceremony will also be streamed live on KUTV, KU website, Lola app, and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-3092 or 0786-335-111 or visit the KU website on www.ku.ac.ke. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at what's happening in the world of sports. Kenyan referee part for Australia as an official, as an official match referee for the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 that is set to kick off on 20th July to 20th August. The sports icon told KUTV this morning that she has undertaken adequate training ahead of her task and is confident to competently represent Kenya at the tournament. She will be joining 29 other official match referees as she officiates World Cup for the third time.
Kenya's Mary Njoroge is a proud match official for the upcoming FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 to be held in Australia and New Zealand. She is intensifying rehearsals ahead of her departure to Australia this week, where she will be among 29 match referees officiating at the tournament. Speaking to KUTV Sports Desk this morning, Njoroge confirmed her readiness for the 20th July to 20th August tournament, having undertaken intensive training sessions.
I believe I got what it takes because this is not my first time. This is my third World Cup. So, and each and every tournament comes with its own challenges. So, but I'm up to the task. I'll get there. I believe I've prepared well for it. Looking forward to Australia, representing women, not only in Kenya, not only in East Africa, but in Africa at large. It's a great feeling, and I'm so honored and privileged to be the one representing them in Australia.
This will mark her third World Cup match as an officiating referee, having served at the 2019 edition of FIFA Women's Cup in France.
She's doing a second World Cup in succession, means that she's at the top of her game, and she's prepared well, and we should expect a very good performance from her. I'm a trainer. We've been doing this for the last 7-8 years, before the last World Cup, before the Olympics. So we've worked together for a long time. And she works hard. She's disciplined. She's focused, and she'll go places.
The 37-year-old referee had one of her 11th hour training today at Kenyatta University Sports Field, where she was accompanied by her sponsors of the session, Australian High Commission to Kenya.
I'm just so excited for Mary to be going to Australia. Australia's really delighted to be hosting the FIFA Women's World Cup with New Zealand. It's the first time. She is amazing, and what she spoke about this morning was that the Women's Cup and refereeing for her was a dream come true, and I think that's the power of sport, that no matter who you are, where you're from, whether you're a man or a woman, everybody has a place on the field.
Last week, the Kenyan referee was in Tanzania training the next generation of referees at the East Africa Cup, which is also supported by the Australian High Commission. Joseph Oyomo, KUTV.
Now that brings us to the end of our bulletin tonight. Many thanks indeed for keeping us company. Now, be sure to join Dennis Omondi and Joseph Kess tomorrow for our subsequent bulletins. My name is Anne Odida. I'm in the company of Ivan ODIHIAMBO, who is our sign language interpreter tonight. Have yourself a good night and see you next week, inshallah.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university